an introduction. So a little bit around me. So I split for those that don't know me, I've had quite a few one-to-ones with a lot of you, and it's been a pleasure to do that. And if anybody else would like one, I'll share my LinkedIn details at the end, and it'd be great to get to know more of you personally. But yeah, so I split my time between London, Swindon, and Paris, between those three cities. Swindon a bit less glamorous than London and Paris, obviously. But yeah, I'm a father of three. I've had 12 years of experience working in senior customer experience management positions across multiple industries before starting my business. And in my spare time, I'm a musician, been signed twice, had 2 record contracts, which has been quite cool. Obviously, didn't work out to be a famous rock star, so now I do customer experience, which I enjoy. And I play badminton. So within my business, we founded that Consultancy Limited was founded in July 2021, and we work across multiple practices from customer service, sales, CX strategy, CRM, operations, marketing, social media, research and analytics, business development, and training and development. So, in a nutshell, if you have a product and a business, there's a customer in between, and there's many things which we'll explore during this. That affects and influences customers, and vice versa, how they affect and influence your business. So anything that touches kind of customer specifically around their enjoyment and spending more money, then that's kind of where we work in. We've worked in a range of different industries, so hospitality, telecommunications, car hire, consumer goods, retail e-com, automotive, insurance and banking, software systems and fintech. So nice range of clients and industries that we've worked across. And here's a range of some of other clients that we've worked with. Some recognizable names on there, and some a little bit less so. So yeah, so as you can see, it's quite diverse where we've operated in. So what is customer experience? So customer experience is the make or break of a business, basically. Steve Jobs once famously said, you've got to start with the customer experience and move back towards the technology. Ultimately, you might have a great product, but if people aren't looked after, then they're not going to come back. And I like to look at it as a little bit like dating, for example. If you go into a bar, the kind of marketing would be the way that you dress, the perfume that you wear, the way that you kind of have your persona. And then the sales would be your opening line, hello, how are you? Would you like a drink? And so forth. And then the customer experience is nurturing that to turn it into a long-standing relationship. It's all well and good being able to attract people, but if you can't hold on to them, then obviously that's not great. So leading companies know that great products and marketing are necessary, but not sufficient. In today's world, we must deliver great customer experiences to also succeed. So why make every customer feel special? And I often ask people this question. So I had a campaign with one of the restaurant companies, and it was about how you can make every guest feel special. So it's fairly straightforward and easy for a waiter to potentially do that, or a chef, or somebody that's customer facing. But how can somebody in finance do that, for example? So if we overcharge a customer for whatever reason, some people used to type in their PIN number, but they're actually typing in a tip. Sometimes people used to tip thousands of pounds by mistake. How can we get that money back to them straight away? So within hours rather than days. If somebody in finance could devise a process to do that, that will make that customer feel special, even though it's not directly facing them. So the question that I have to all of you at the end is, what have you done individually to make your customers feel special? That's not necessarily the obvious. How have you thought outside the box to do that? But just a few stats here. These slides I will share around to everybody afterwards. But if customers are unhappy, there's a 91% chance they won't do business again. And they typically tell 9 to 15 people. If a customer has a good experience, 42% of consumers purchase again. So if a single bad experience can undo the value of 40 good experiences, surely it makes logical sense to look after those customers. And also, it's cheaper to retain a customer and look after a customer than to acquire a new one. You've spent a lot of time, effort, money to acquire a customer. Now is the bit just to keep that relationship going. And like we've said, with if I use the analogy of a normal relationship, a lot of time, effort, and building to form a physical relationship with a friend or partner or colleague, and obviously you want to keep that going. So the same applies for customers in business. So how is CX changing? So CX has merged from the back rooms It used to be a very kind of closet kind of department where it was just used to deal with complaints. It was purely customer service, which is one practice within customer experience. Call centers, inhuman responses, pushing through, businesses kind of almost looking down upon CX and finding complaints a bit of a pain in the neck. But now businesses are now pushing it to the forefront of their business, and complaints should not be looked at as a negative thing. This is customers, paying customers that understand your business, understand your product, that are giving you free advice on how to keep them and keep their peers. So complaints should be looked upon favorably and positively. But yeah, like I said, the world of customer experience has progressed from a collection of unrelated disciplines to a very centrally focused area now. And I remember my first ever job in which was Pizza Express customer service team, 12 to 15, or about 15 years ago now. My job was to deal with 50 complaints day in, day out, be shouted at all day long by customers. And my boss at the time, she's now one of the directors of customer experience at British Airways, and it's a very different kettle of fish, obviously. And she said to me, "This is you're a pioneer in this industry. This is a new industry that most people don't understand, that businesses don't recognise, businesses don't recognise the importance of, and it's changed dramatically over the last 12 to 15 years. But as it continues to evolve, we need to obviously stay ahead of the curve and make sure that we're keeping up with those trends. So what we're going to do now is look into the top 10 CX trends of 2024, so we can stay ahead of the game. So generative AI redefining CX. So we're, as we just discussed previously, AI is a big thing now. You've got various different areas of AI used within customer experience. So you've got the obvious, which is chatbots, but there's a lot of AI being used to define customer personas, to identify pain points. For example, chucking 6 months worth of 1-star reviews into ChatGPT to analyze and give you some key trends is a very quick way of, you could do that daily, just to kind of keep up, whereas beforehand it was weeks or days worth of analytics. So AI is moving forward, but it's about upholding the transparency and integrity of this. So as well as use it in a correct way that's actually beneficial to your customers, rather than just doing it for the sake of it. And that's what companies will be looking at quite closely in 2024. The intelligent evolution of subscriptions. As we all know, subscriptions are great for cash flow, and customers they want to have a defined subscription that services them, that cultivates their buying power and also their relationship with the business. So it's about having smart subscriptions, not just any old subscription. Is this subscription that's maybe lasting 2 years, 6 months in, is it still relevant to them? Or will they just have to put up with that, and then ultimately when their subscription finishes, they'll jump off? Is the pricing still correct? Is it still relevant? What are the competitors doing? So it's about being smarter with evolutions, and using AI and many other analytical practices to understand what's best for the customers. CX-centric value proposition. Back in the day, obviously it was price wars. Now people are sick of poor customer service. We spend the excuse me, the pound is hard earned, and it's even more valuable today as a cost of living to many customers. They don't want to part with their pound as much as they did 10 years ago, potentially. So rather than just offering a service, good isn't good enough. We have to be above that, and this is where companies will really excel. So one of my clients is a chain of tyre garages in the southwest UK, and they're always trying to compete with pricing with Quick Fit and some of the competitors. But as an independent tyre chain that has only 4 or 5 garages, customer from the insight that I gathered were valuing their customer service and their honesty and their reliability and their history more than price. And customers were actually saying they were undercharging. So it's a bit like there's 4 different types of customer, which I won't go into now, but there's a reason why certain people go to Waitrose and certain people go to Lidl, even though you can buy exactly the same tin of Heinz baked beans. It's for the overall experience. So this is where an experience will be taking precedent over potential price. So the evolution of omnichannel experiences. No longer do you want to speak to a chatbot, then speak to a customer service agent, and then be passed on to somebody else. And I've had quite an interesting experience myself personally. I use the Eurostar maybe once or twice. Well, probably do about 2 to 4 journeys a month on the Eurostar. So I use it quite a lot between London and Paris. And I had a really bad experience just before Christmas, and I'm going to be writing an entire article about how they handled it, their response, my complaint, and I'll share that around once completed. And I'd be really interested to hear everybody's thoughts. And yeah, using authentic CRM tools to track this. And as we all know, you don't want to repeat yourself. You want to be treated as a human. If you tell your friend something, you're going to be late to the pub, for example, or and the reasons why, you don't want to then get to the pub and have to tell each of the 6 people you're meeting individually. You kind of just want that ease of communication. That works again across multiple touch points within business. And number 5, the emergence of synthetic customers. So this is a great way to be able to use AI and data to predict and anticipate pain points by modeling customer behavior of your business virtually before either launching a product or during the maintenance of a product, or during the change in a business model, or whatever it may be. This is a great way of testing things, and we have the technology nowadays to be able to actively do that, whereas beforehand it was all predictions, wise predictions and calculated predictions, but now the technology is there to model these ideas better to understand the outcomes. Integration and sustainability, ESG, I'm sure this is no surprise. Again, customers want to know that they're being serviced correctly. If you're in a big call center that's powered by coal or whatever it may be, if you're in a shop that's using diesel trucks versus electric trucks, an airline that's using biofuel, Virgin just recently did their first flight, international flight, which Richard Branson took on biofuel. People are going to start to buy into your business, obviously more around this, but not just around the products you offer. It's about how you also build this into CX. So everybody is quite aware of making sure you have good premises, a shop or transport or whatever it may be, but how can you build this into CX? And once you can, then that's a good opportunity to be able to shout about that. And customers generally buy into products not just because of the product itself, but the insurance and the whole kind of package that goes around. So for example, I have an Amex. It's a bit more expensive, but I know that if I pay for the premium, although I've never actually paid a penny because I pay it off every month, but you pay a premium to have that insurance that if something goes wrong, that it's going to be dealt with correctly. The same now goes to ESG. People are and sustainability. People are willing to pay a little bit more to make sure that it's from the CX, especially, obviously, this the topic of today, is handled correctly and in the most efficient way. Security, as we were discussing earlier, this is another key thing. In the past, obviously, people wanted to understand where their beef came from. Was it from a farm assured premises? Was it from a good source? Coffee, are the farmers looked after? Are they paid a fair price? Same goes to data. It's something that's really important to people, and if they even so much as sniff a data breach, or the data has not been handled completely, that will put customers off. So be incredibly important to kind of focus on that, and also make sure that customers are aware of the things that you do. It's all well and good saying we look after your data, but some people might not understand exactly what that means. So shout about those wins that you're doing, and all of that effort and energy that you're putting into making sure that is safe. Tell people why not. You've done the work. Tell people that's there, and that's what customers will now start to make educated choices on these other things, as well as just the product and the aftercare. So obviously chatbots was probably no surprise this is coming up, but gone are the days of frustrating encounters. Chatbots are wising up, they're getting much more intelligent, but they should be used for certain areas. So going back to the Eurostar reference, if I wanted to check my baggage allowance or what meal I'm going to be served on the train, I would like to probably use a chatbot or an FAQ or a knowledge base. But if I get overcharged, or I had a member of staff that was rude to me, I would like to speak to a human about that. So it's about using the chatbots in the correct way to obtain the information to then pass on and then process through to the right channels in a correct way. And this will obviously, with the new technology, Zendesk, I can give lots of suggestions if anybody wants a call afterwards. Zendesk obviously very good at that, and there's lots of plugins to be able to use. So yeah, don't fear chatbots anymore. They are evolving, they are doing well, but use them in the right moment at the right time. Get that balance right. Immersive customer experiences. So a lot of customers have been rattled from a from COVID, obviously, and now the experience is even more valuable than ever. People want that fix. People want to, even though we're a few years down the line, data still shows people are still suffering from the aftermath of COVID, and they want those immersive experiences. I called somewhere the other day, and as I was calling them up, there was an automated message that said, due to unprecedented times, calls may take longer to answer. Our staff are working from home. Given all the COVID excuses, and it's not an excuse. You've had 3 years to sort this out. It's not an excuse at all. So the immersive experience, whether it be on the phone or physically, is incredible. So I put an example here about what Warner Brothers did with launching the Barbie movie. There was a lot of augmented reality. There was a lot of being able to take a selfie and upload it through a template or filter to your social media campaigns. It's about getting customers really into something rather than just looking at something. How can you build them into creating an experience that's memorable, firstly, and also enjoyable? This is just the icing on the cake to go along with the product. So think about smart ways of being able to advertise and educate, potentially, if you've got a product that needs that for the customer, or inform, or whatever it may be. Think of immersive customer experiences. And sentiment, and number 10, sentiment-driven CX strategies. So understanding your customers even further than you already do. So are they the cost customers? Are they looking at cheapest cost, the value? Are they loyalty customers? They pay a premium for your product because they want to stay loyal and they like your brand. Are they the poker player customers, which is what I call them, where they are kind of a bit of all. You can never really tell what they want. So you kind of got to be applicable to everybody. And you can use a lot of analytics to understand your customers, and use automation and obviously human approach to make sure that you're using the right areas, the right tools for the right customers. And you can use many different systems for this, to track your customers and do little things such as calling a customer on their birthday to wish them happy birthday, or doing check-ins, or sending them a free, if you own a restaurant chain, for example, send them a free bottle of wine, for example, if you've noticed that they've been using you a lot more recently, or whatever it may be. Really look into sentiment rather than just blanket customers. So those 10 trends, in a nutshell, I can obviously talk for hours about each one individually, but just hopefully that gives you kind of a snapshot about the evolving landscape of 2024. And using these techniques and these ideologies will hopefully retain customers as well as grow your business and ultimately create better loyalty and advocacy. But before we can go into all the fancy stuff and high end and advanced kind of stuff that we looked at, we really need to focus on the basics. So the basics, what are they? There's 4 core reasons why customers walk away. This could be there's many millions of reasons across different businesses where an experience could go wrong. But ultimately, looking at thousands of pieces of data through SurveyMonkey and various other areas, there are 4 key reasons. And they are, so number 1, the first mistake is assuming long-term customers are happy. So just because they're paying money to you or buying your product doesn't mean that they're happy. They might be doing this until something better comes along and instantly they would jump ship. So make sure that your long-term spend a lot of time and care to ensure that they are happy. Forgetting customers' best interests. So is the product or service still applicable to them, firstly, and to the marketplace, and to whatever it may be. The third mistake is employees engaging incorrectly. So this could be from a waiter or a customer service agent or whatever it may be. That's one of the key reasons what is a bugbearer for customers. And number 4, inconsistent communication. So if your website has an offer on it that says 25% off on Saturdays, but then the actual shop or restaurant or airline or whatever it may be thinks it's on a Sunday, or if your social media manager posts something that's not consistent with your CRM or your email, so inconsistent communication. So these are the kind of 4 key reasons, just to keep in the back of your mind, almost having like written down on a little bit of paper, have it there at the forefront, and make sure that everything that you're doing is kind of make around these 4 mistakes to prevent and mitigate them. And so good customer experience is a small price to pay. Obviously, investing in this, leading companies know this now, and this is the way that's evolving. And if we don't, we will have a Blockbuster and Kodak moment, because, like I said, people are now buying based on good customer experiences. So unless you invest in customer experience and put it to the forefront of your business, along with your business dev, along with the product, along with your marketing, then other companies are going to rush past and speed off into the distance, offering exceptional services, and you will be left behind. So I want to come on to the kind of final couple of slides here. So what is customer experience? It covers everything. I've got two images here. I just want to open the floor just for 2 minutes. Does anybody have any idea what I might mean by what these two images might signify? So obviously we've got a star to the left and some lights to the right, and then I'll explain why these should be imperative in your mind going forward. So anybody want to suggest or ask? Anybody? If not, then no worries.
Probably one is your North Star, and one is what you should be spotlighting your business on.
That's completely correct. Exactly. Nailed it straight away. Thank you very much. So yeah, the North Star is your vision. So what are you all leading towards? If it's to deliver a plus NPS score of 70, for example, and that's your metric to know that you're doing well. If it's churn or retention, that you have a certain target to do that. If it's a CSAT score, if it's a Trustpilot score, whatever it may be, you could even a blended metric is obviously the ideal. So quite often with clients, I merge everything together to kind of have a super score, a star score. So you can encapsulate many different metrics and work towards that. And Elon Musk famously said, which is great, that if you want to do something, like his mission was to get to Mars, and everything that he does is to get to Mars. So building the rockets, the reusable rockets, testing this, testing that. If it's not going to contribute towards the goal of getting to Mars, then it's not worth doing. So have that North Star, which you all walk towards, you all lead towards, and keep that in mind as you go along the way. And the second image there, it's about aligning your values and your services, your offering to your customers' wants, needs, expectations, and fears. So, for example, I'm not sure if you can see my hands or see me in the video, but so you have one torch beam here, and this is what your customers want. You have another torch beam here, which is what you offer. And that could be a product at a specific price. It could be an insurance on a product you sell. It could be opening times of your restaurant or whatever it may be. And as soon as they cross over, that's the sweet spot. That's where you are giving your customers what they want. And you need to make sure that you have as many of these lights aligned as possible. If you're offering a product or service that isn't to the customer values, no matter how good that product or service is, customers will not buy it and customers will leave. So make sure you have that laser focus on making sure your torch beams are aligned with what your customers expect and want. And like I said, going back to the star as well, making sure that you're all constantly walking as a business, not just one person walking off into the distance. Make sure that everybody is working together as a team to achieve those values and so forth. So how can we help? I'm just going to spend the last 1 minute or 2 minutes just explaining kind of what we do as a business and how we could potentially help anybody that does require or need our help. So some of the services that we offer, we look at increased revenues and NPS and developing better customer services to ultimately achieve those goals. We also offer customer service and sales agents. We have a pool of 300 plus agents, which we can offer 24/7 from £20 an hour per agent. So if a couple of my clients, sometimes through peak periods at Christmas, just need that extra support. We offer lots of reports. We do monthly, weekly analytics reports of your business, pain point identification and tracking, lots of training, workshops. I offer training one-on-one or groups, journey mapping. That's just probably about 5 or 6 of the examples that we do, and we offer probably about 40 to 50 different solutions. So just give you kind of a range of area. And we also do social media strategy and implementation for clients as well. So anything ultimately where a customer is, like I said, involved, we can we've got different practices, different solutions where we can solve that. Like I said, ranging from analytics to physical agents, to whatever it may be. We also have a free knowledge base on our website. So I've written hundreds of articles explaining what we've talked about today, but in much more detail. How COVID looks the marketplace looks after COVID, the 4 reasons customers leave you, but in more detail, 3 different types of customer base, how to identify pain points, efficiency in improving average wait time in a call center, and so forth. So if anybody wants to go on, you can scan the QR code there, or just go to my website, and there's a tab at the top, knowledge base, and that's completely free for anybody to have a look at. And if you wanted just to get a quick bit of advice instantly, without the need of speaking to me or messaging, have a look through there. So yeah, that concludes. So I think that was about half an hour. Yep, perfect. And yeah, so thank you very much. Like I said, my name's Dan Pratt. We're DAP Consultancy, and like I said, our motto: "Happy customers make for better business," which is true. So yes, I just want to say thank you very much for everybody's time listening to that. And are there any questions from anybody?
Dan, that was fantastic, and you was spot on from the top when you said that this is an area that founders ignore at their peril. It really is, and to put a lot of this into play in the early days is really important. Has anyone got any questions for Dan this morning? Gideon.
Sorry, I'm sitting on a bus, so I'm off camera. But Dan, that was really interesting. One thing I was going to ask you about was, I hope you can hear me okay, was about onboarding. I've got a particular kind of bugbear at the moment about how particularly business to business and tech companies onboard customers. It feels like there's such a reliance on, you know, an automated email sequence, or maybe an invitation to a webinar or something like that. And I've found so many instances recently where I'll have gone through that process, kind of forgotten who they are. Maybe I've taken a free trial and the trial has expired, and then I'll get an email to say, "Oh, we've got a new feature," and I have no idea who they are, and they've missed a massive opportunity in kind of, you know, I feel like the beginning of that relationship is such an important thing, and I feel like much more effort could be put into onboarding customers. But I don't know if you've done any work on that, or if that's something you would kind of see as well. Interested to get your thoughts.
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly it. If you start to form a relationship with a friend, for example, and you've met them a couple of times, and then following that, if you arrange to meet to go to a football game or lunch or something, and they never text back, or they take ages texting back, and then you don't hear from them for ages, it's the kind of same principle. It's just very annoying. The same goes for customers. So when you onboard customers, the biggest kind of advice I would give is to treat all of those people as if they're literally on thin ice. They could leave you at any moment, and treat those relationships delicately. Don't bombard them, but make sure that they know you're there to care. But do it in a sincere way. So a blanket email obviously is not sincere. You could potentially 2 weeks into the kind of relationship, give them a call, and then find out from them how do they want to operate. Do they want to have regular weekly or monthly or quarterly calls, or are they quite happy just to go off by themselves, and they'll get in touch with you if need be? And then if that's the case, then maybe make them a bit more sparse. But it's about literally adapting to those individual people. Different businesses are different. The same as in work, we all work differently. I personally like to just be given some work and get on with it, where some people like to be micromanaged, for example. It's the same principle with clients. They are still people. They still have those moments. So make sure the onboarding journey is just basically as applicable to them as possible in their working style and how their business operates as well. So I hope that kind of helps in a way.
Yeah, it does, absolutely does. And I think what we do as business owners, and it is assumed that people that buy into us love us immediately and know everything about us. And so many times I sit, you know, in research groups or whatever, and even people that are your most valuable customers, they don't really care that much. You don't care as much as you think they care, and they care about other stuff. They care about, you know, the other aspects of their lives. So I think we need to assume less knowledge, less that people, we overestimate how much people kind of think about us and our businesses and our products and services. And I think we could all do well to kind of lower our expectations, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, I completely agree. Well, thanks for your question, Gideon. I appreciate that. Lee?
I was interested, first of all, like, I love customer experience, and the whole, we're going through unprecedented times on the voicemails for some of these larger companies. Just every single time reminds me how important it is. What I find interesting is, as more companies are using external marketing and content agencies to generate their marketing material, how many do you think really recognize the connection between that and then the experience that they have once they've won you? Because I definitely see sometimes the marketing is done in a way that's actually really conflicts with the way that it's going to feel working with the company. And how can a company kind of rectify that and make sure that the strand from how people find you to how they work with you feels more consistent?
So yeah, I had this exact situation when I worked for one of the restaurant chains, and we had internal teams, we had external teams. Marketing was outsourced to a degree. For example, video makers, photographers were not in-house, and it was a real pain sometimes, and especially from my point of view, I was head of customer experience for them, and sometimes customers would go to a restaurant to use and see something at a price point that they saw on social media or on the website, and then the restaurants were not being able to deliver it because they hadn't been briefed. And when you've got 550 restaurants, it's with 10,000 staff, and that all need to know exactly the same as what that marketing person's decided is quite complicated. So what I did to solve that was put together a committee, and that included a kind of representative from each area. So I had an ops director, I had a finance director, I had the marketing director, and we used to have weekly roundtables just to make sure that everything was aligned. So if marketing devised a particular product or campaign, are ops going to be able to deliver that? Is it going to be commercially viable? And we had to sign off, each area had to sign off before we could do something. So new menu launch, for example, are those dishes going to be able to be produced quickly in Canary Wharf at 12 o'clock on a Friday lunchtime, or are they going to be better suited for Walton-on-Thames on a Sunday afternoon, for example? So it's about having sign off and having everybody. It's just making sure that everybody is clear and everybody's happy, rather than, like, for example, this campaign might be really good from a marketing perspective. It might have incredible impressions. It might bring thousands of people to the restaurants, but if it can't be delivered, then it's failing, and that's going to have a detrimental effect than before if the campaign had never existed in the first place. And again, commercially viable, if it's going to cost not just the money at the time, but if it's going to cost a person disappearing and then not coming back to spend another 300 quid in the next 12 months that they might have done beforehand. So there was a campaign once which said 25% off food excludes Saturdays. Sorry, it says 25% off food excludes weekends, bank holidays, sorry. And then in the small print, it also said excludes Saturdays. So my point was, well, why would you not put the Saturday as the key exclusion, given that there's 52 of them and there's only 8 bank holidays? And the logic was because that might put customers off coming at the weekend. It's like, well, you might make the 12 quid extra then, and then they'll never come back again. So little things like that. So it's just basically about, have it. Like I said, the biggest thing I would say is have a committee and make sure everybody's happy across all practices. Even if it's not their area, they can definitely give impactful influence and knowledge on how it could affect them and their teams. So I hope that helps.
Thanks, Lee. Neil.
Neil.
Hi, Dan. Great talk. I was just wanting to, I don't know, to prompt you to share, actually, because it's a story that resonates with me that we spoke about. I mean, I think you touched on it there with the restaurant one, is the £40 steak at Cafe Rouge, and the authenticity of the Parisian water and bread moment. But I thought that sticks in my mind about the disconnect between a company initiative and authenticity of what your brand is. So just over to you, really.
Cool, very good memory. I appreciate that, and yeah, I actually did mean to mention that today, but I completely forgot. So, thank you very much for that, Neil. And so yeah, as we all know, Cafe Rouge is supposed to be a Parisian French style restaurant. And somebody I'm currently sitting in Paris now. I spend half my time in Paris. I'm here. I go to lots of Parisian restaurants, and to be authentic, as any of you know, that if you've been to a French or Parisian restaurant in France, you get a carafe of water put on the table. You get given bread as a kind of a nice starter, and customer, it's nice. So as soon as you sit down, while you're deciding on your drink, and it's not going to be decided. If you go there wanting a beer or wanting a wine or wanting a Coke, for example, you're not going to be presented with a carafe of water and go, you know what, actually, screw the wine or beer. I'm going to have water all night instead. If you go there wanting a particular dish, poulet breton or confit de canal or something like that, then you're not going to go, oh, you know what, I just have this plain bread instead now as they've given it to me. That's not going to happen, but it enhances the customer experience. So we did a big campaign at Cafe Rouge to try and implement this, and the data showed that people did want it. However, it was kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, because customers had got used to spending €3 or £3 rather for a small baguette. So it wasn't the fact that the business couldn't afford to give it for free, because they could, but it's the fact that they couldn't afford to lose the £3 that they were earning from it. Tap water, people could still order tap water, but it was again the detrimental effect of losing potential still or sparkling water sales. That was the hard thing. But ultimately, we did do a study. We tried it in about 10 restaurants where we were giving it away for free, and it had very minimal impact. But sadly, it never made it nationally across all the restaurants. And in regards to the steak question as well, they at one point they wanted to put on a £40 steak onto the menu, and from which would be great in a kind of Michelin star restaurant, but as a casual dining restaurant, and looking at the demographics of the customer base, £40 for a steak would have been a bit too much. But the great thing about that committee was that I knew this because of the analytics that I'd done with the customers and the insight behavioral kind of stuff that I did. And ultimately, I did object to it, but they launched it and had loads and loads of steaks left over because nobody bought them, and then had to redevelop a menu and launch a Sunday roast in a French restaurant to get rid of this beef. And it was quite interesting. That's why Cafe Rouge launched Sunday roasts for a while, they bought millions of pounds worth of this Châtelet beef that they couldn't shift. And so ultimately it's again about, like to Neil's point, it's about understanding your customers and making sure it's relevant, and making sure that if you're trying to be something, then you go and go and be it. You don't half-assed kind of be it. And again, just make sure that what you're offering is applicable to your customers. And that's a great example about how things went a little bit wrong, but then got recovered, and ultimately in that particular environment, commercials and margins took precedent over the experience being given to customers, obviously.
Thanks,
cool.
Neil.
Thanks for that, Neil.
Dan, really good presentation. What makes me laugh is that virtually everything you're saying is be nice to your customers.
It's not rocket science, is it? It's literally not rocket science.
and the funny thing is that people sit there and go, oh, I should do that. And you go, well, you should be doing that anyway. There's nothing wrong with being nice to people. I just wanted to talk one thing you said about the things of the future. I believe that the next generation of businesses will have to give ownership to their customers from the very beginning. So I was wondering whether what you talked about, ownership of feedback and giving ideas and actually having responsibility. You said even like a committee. Can you see that being the next thing that's coming forward, or is that what customers want?
Yeah, I definitely feel that's customers want to be listened to. They want to be part of something. So one of the things that I did with a phone network that I used to work for, ID Mobile, actually, I created a community with them, and it worked in couple of areas which was really well. It saved the business about £250,000 a year on customer service costs, because we calculated that it was about £3.70 per customer to service, and the detraction from the call centre to this community obviously saved that money. And what the community was there for was to, firstly, to attract them, was entertain, educate, and inform, a bit like the BBC. And then once you've got them there, we used to post articles and ask them to share their holiday pics of tech that they're taking abroad and so forth to get them engaged. And then we used to, if a customer had a query or question about how do I turn off my roaming, or how do I check my amount of data on the app, for example, if another customer answered those questions, we would then reward them and give them points and scores. And the more that they answered questions, the higher points and scores they got, and they went up the leagues. And then the higher the person that answers them and the more accurate questions that they answered, they were like an official ambassador and so forth. And then these ambassadors we used to invite into the office or give free product to, or we had a VIP section that they used to get exclusive first dibs on new phones, for example, or whatever it may be. So ultimately we had to kill two birds with one stone. We had customers servicing customers, which was cheaper, and secondly, it created engagement and created a feeling of becoming and kind of a feeling of being more involved with the business. It gave them responsibility and felt proud to almost be affiliated with a phone network. And phone networks are generally quite dry and quite you don't really get the immersive experience like you would do for going to the Ritz, for example, or a football match or whatever it may be. But so it was creating that kind of community feeling and empowering them to have their say as well. And we would again ask these kind of more senior members that had answered questions, what's their thoughts on this? We're thinking about launching this product. Would you be happy to come into the office and do like a panel with us, or whatever it may be? And that was really, really powerful. And I've tried to get many clients and organizations to kind of adopt that since. And some clients are very open to it. Some clients are a bit kind of restrictive. They don't want to give that power to their customers. But I think if it's done in the correct manner, then it's very effective. So there are ways of kind of bringing them into that community or that committee type thing, but in a very smart, efficient way that's beneficial to the business and also the client customer.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
Any last questions for Dan? Well, Dan's with us this morning. I think we've covered a lot there, to be honest, Dan. It's been very, very good, very comprehensive. You've provided some valuable insights into a very important topic, an area for us. So we can thank you for that. We are next on tomorrow at 1 o'clock with Stacey. Please feel free to join us. And we have got the one and only Nick Ford on Friday doing a great talk about manufacturing back in the UK, which is a important move. So please join us for that as well. Great to see everyone this morning. And
thanks very much for having me. I appreciate
You're welcome, Dan. That was wonderful. Dan, you're going to get a lot of love and big ups on LinkedIn today. Get ready.
Cheers. Thanks very much. I appreciate that. Cool. Cheers. See you all soon. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.